Well, we finally got some info to talk about on Big Brother 24 after last night's episode. We saw the jury segment, which wasn't that much of a segment. I'll talk about it here in a while. We also had an appearance from the Cookout, like I talked about. The best alliance from this show's history for the statistics of what they did, but also after last night's showing, they might have a new unpopular name for the Cookout. And we also have the results of the first part of the final HOH. So, a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the jury, and the jury seeming to be pro Monty for the most part, at least of what were shown in the edit. My problem with the jury segment is that it was poorly edited. Surprise, surprise from this show. Poorly edited, not giving a lot of real info. They only show the jury talking about the two guys left in the game, not and just one little negativity about Taylor, which we'll get to. But yeah, I felt like the jury focused a lot on Monty and Turner's game in this edit anyway. And they seem to like Monty over Turner, so if that's the final two, you can expect a Monty win, most likely. And then the only thing we hear about Taylor is that Alyssa telling them that she slept in the HOH room with Monty all week, which was not a lie from Alyssa. However, Alyssa trying to slut shame Taylor there is why when Alyssa, and I've already said this before, is when Alyssa is being slut shamed in the postseason, and I won't slut shame her, but I don't want to see any tears about Alyssa being slut shamed postseason. All I want to hear is the laughter, and by the laughter I mean my own laughter, laughing at the slut shaming of Alyssa. And then we get, Joseph's reaction to that, and oh my God, the jailer stands acting so heartbroken. I'm sorry, the Joseph and Taylor stands, the jailer stands are the weirdest ship I've ever seen for a show. There's been a lot of weird ships on this show alone. Even just last season, Hannah and Derek X. By the end of the season, those shippers were very strange people online. But the Joseph and Taylor stands have brought it to a new level. I've seen on social media friendships get destroyed over this shipping between Jailer and Monty and Taylor. Just weirdo extreme behavior from Jailer shippers who built up this fairy tale in their head when the fact is, I don't care about Joseph's reaction. I don't have any pity for Joseph. Joseph did not pursue her in that house. There was mild flirting at best, and there was a friendship, but Joseph was too busy playing the game and also still talking shit about Taylor to the girls, which was a part of his gameplay, but he was still doing that. Joseph did not pursue Taylor at all in the house. So how in the hell am I supposed to pity him? Because when you snooze, you lose. And that is what Joseph did. He lost this battle for Taylor's heart for now. Which, to Jailer shippers out there, I hate to give you new false hope because y'all are cuckoo in the head already. But, Nicole and Corey were the two that hooked up in the Big Brother 18 house. Nicole was giving him hand jobs, like I like to mention every so often. But after the show, she married Victor, who was on that same season. So, it's possible maybe Joseph will actually pursue her after the show. But I don't think Joseph was really as into Taylor as y'all are still trying to make us believe. Even his reaction was a little, played up for the cameras, in my opinion. They give major friendship vibes, but maybe they will surprise me. And if Joseph pursues her after the season, I'll take back some of what I said here, but I still feel like this was just more of the same middle school and high school mentality we've seen this entire season from these people. From the bullying of Taylor the first 2 weeks, the sheep mentality, all of the jealousy in this house. We saw that all of this cast was just a stunted cast. They had no growth. They haven't grown as people for a while. They were stunted people coming into this game. We saw it with Kyle with his 10-second sex, and how Monty's acting immature with his feelings for Taylor playing games, and now Joseph didn't pursue Taylor at all, really, in the house. He made no real moves. Taylor was doing honestly more of the hardcore flirting than he was. So for him to have that reaction just made me roll my eyes. Sorry for the jailer shippers, but y'all are extreme. And then, Taylor stands now are acting like, well, the jury might be pro Monty, but Brittany's going to go in there and turn them to be pro Taylor. Brittany? The same Brittany who has shat on Taylor's game this entire season? They're acting like because Brittany and Taylor had they had about two good conversations Brittany's final days in the game after fucking 11 weeks plus of Brittany talking shit about Taylor's game to everybody else, but because Brittany and Taylor had these two conversations, they're acting like Brittany deserves some grace for the way she acted like a fake ass bitch friend to Taylor this entire season, even though that was bad for Brittany's game to act that way in the first place. But she did it. But also, for all of you Taylor stans that really think Brittany's going to go in there and change the jury to be pro Taylor, the same Brittany who everyone on that jury dislikes, the same Brittany that had no control with these people, no agency with these people during the game because her social game is ass, I just don't see it happening. I don't even know. There's two different folds here with Brittany. Will she actually go to the jury and defend Taylor, the person she has had a problem with her game style this entire season? We've seen Brittany talk shit about Taylor constantly. But y'all really think she's going to go there and just be super positive about Taylor? I think she'll be positive about Taylor in comparison to Monty, but I don't think she's going to be super positive enough about Taylor in the first place. And even if she is, the second fold to this is that it's Brittany, and are people gonna really listen to Brittany? Now, I'm not saying that like Taylor has no shot against Monty in the end, but it isn't looking good for her. But the edit for the jury last season was very pro Xavier for the most part with the edits. But we also saw on the finale a lot of the women possibly rallying behind Azah if she were to get to the final two. And afterwards, we heard people like Whitney saying they would have voted for Azah over Xavier. So, I mean, I could see the women rallying behind Taylor for sure. If Taylor makes the final two, she's going to have a hard time beating Monty in that final two, though. I think it's going to be tough for Taylor, but we'll see how that goes. But Turner won part 1 of the HOH. I don't know when this video will air today. It could air after part 2, but either way, I don't know when it's going to air, but I'm going to have to talk about part 2 of the HOH tomorrow. But part 1 was Turner's win, and if Turner is to win the final HOH, you got to think he takes Monty to the end. But, Turner has turned on people this season. The problem with Turner, though, is that he listens to men, and I think Monty could get in his head and make him take Monty to the final two if he wins the final HOH. And I do wonder if Turner wins the final HOH and takes Monty, does it kind of change their perception of Turner to be better than Monty? Because I do feel like the jury sometimes holds weight about who wins that final HOH. I don't know if it's enough in this respect, though, because I feel like they're already feeling like Monty is superior to Turner as a player, which he is. So I can see that if Turner takes Monty, they just kind of think that Monty kind of ran Turner, which is not that far from the truth at all. I think Taylor winning the final HOH altogether, but she has to win part 2 first. I think that helps Taylor's game in the eyes of the jury a lot if she can do that. But also, I've been saying since week 3 of this game, and you could go back and watch my videos from week 3. It was like towards the end of week 3 and into week 4 where I said many times Turner and Taylor seem to get along great personally, but will they ever develop a real game relationship? And they never did. And now look at the final 3 and how it could have paid off for both of them in this final 3 if they would have just developed that relationship. And Taylor should have really developed that game relationship more. I get that Taylor was going through it, and that week 3 was a lot. Week 3 was the peak of the season, which is why the people who are trying to overrate the season now, it's laughable when a season is peaking in week 3 It's really not that great of a season, but that was the entertainment peak of this season. The week Amira went home, the week that side of the house was crying was hilarious. Like, the season started so terribly at the bottom. It peaked really high at the formation of the Cookout and Amira's demise, but it's kind of just mostly been going down ever since. There's been a couple of bumps up since week 3, but the entertainment level peaked in week 3 for sure. But that is also when Turner and Taylor could have and should have developed a stronger game relationship. There is the chance that Turner takes Taylor if he wins the final 3. Taylor's going to have to put in work now. But both of them, I talked about Turner kind of dropping the ball with Taylor over this last week. Taylor kind of did the same with Turner now. If Turner wins the final HOH, Taylor did not lay a good enough groundwork with Turner. The only argument she has is that the jury might vote for Monty over Turner. It's a strong argument, but like I said, Turner only listens to Monty. And speaking of Monty, you know, I think Monty, his game is being very underrated by a lot of Taylor stans, which is the majority of the fan base and probably the majority of YouTube, because they only talking points that the fan base talks. Like, the majority of YouTube is just having the popular opinion so they can be popular. But and then on the other side of that, there is some people who I think overrate Monty's game and try and act like he's a better player than he actually is too, when the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle, like always. I think that Monty's game kind of went like this. You know, the first third of Monty's game was trash. He was, you know, listening to people who were lying to him and not listening to people who were telling him the truth. He was struggling to, you know, not try to control things too much. He was a very manic player the first few weeks of this game. And then the second third of the game, he kind of like, he played like the game he wanted to play. He found his inner Xavier, and he kind of went under the radar during the middle of the game. But he was still not good on a social level the middle of the game. He wanted to be too out there. He wanted to make himself too much of a shield, which is why when some people say that Michael carried Monty, I don't agree with that statement honestly. But there's a little bit of truth to that, because, you know, Michael winning competitions did kind of take the big bright target that Monty had away from him, but that's not because Michael carried Monty. That's because Michael himself was a bad player and just continued to grow his own target. The middle of the game for Monty, I still feel like, was very subpar. He just went under the radar while also still making his target big. It was a very odd dynamic for Monty in the middle of this game. But Monty has had a strong end game. The last few weeks of the game, Monty has won when he needed to win. He's taken the people he needed to take to the end to help his game. So Monty's game overall, I think, is mediocre at best, but he had a very strong end game here. But I still think, like, overall, you know, this season and the gameplay, I've talked about it all season, it's been subpar altogether. But we'll see who actually wins this second HOH first before I talk more about these players' games overall. Lastly, you know, the Cookout appeared on the show last night. And, I mean, is their name the Cookout, or are they the Sellouts? I'm trying to really figure that out, because they clearly just made this appearance for money. They got a check. I hope they got a check. Because, I mean, I'm not going to take away from them getting the check. Get paid when you got to get paid. But all this was, like I talked about a video ago, was CBS trying to get good PR for this season. Hey, look, it's the Cookout, the all-black alliance. Yes, this season was just more black trauma. We saw Taylor be bullied the whole season on feeds, even though we didn't show enough of it on the episodes, because we like to make the white people look way better than they actually are on our shows. But here's the Cookout to try and make y'all feel better. And then the Cookout come on here and just give a bunch of Twitter talking points and try and stick up for Taylor. But it's in the same episode where there's a bunch of misogyny towards Taylor in the jury, because the only jury segment we see about Taylor is Alyssa slut-shaming her. CBS did this for the people that don't understand it. They showed the segment of Taylor being slut-shamed to make their little racist Facebook base kind of happy because they don't like Taylor now, while then also bringing on the Cookout to try and appeal to the black fan base. It's CBS playing both sides of the fence instead of actually trying to fix their own product. This show and this network CBS is just so gross to me, honestly, because and even we even talked about this last night on the Survivor podcast. You could see more of this on the Survivor podcast, where Survivor basically set a black woman up to basically be the first boot by typecasting her like last season's black woman winner, and then putting her as the only black player this season, not in a tribe with another black player. And then they put her in there with a Kyle Jr. from Utah, a female version of Kyle, and then we're surprised that the black woman went home first. They set her up for failure because that's what CBS does. You could go watch our pretty good, funny podcast about Survivor last night where we drag these people and drag the show mostly. But that's CBS's MO. So there's just one thing about the Cookout that bugs me, and maybe I'm probably not gonna get through to them because I ain't black. But also, they kind of all listen to white people more than they listen to black people, if we're being real. And I'm not counting Ozza in this. Ozza is somebody I've always enjoyed on the Cookout, mostly because she does march to the beat of her own drum on Twitter. She always has marched to the beat of her own drum. I fuck with Ozza, but the rest of them have kind of shown to just be clout chasers and fake as fuck. But the thing that I don't understand about the Cookout is like they act like they're not a part of Big Brother. Like they always want to go to white platforms and put out information there on white platforms. Why not make your own thing? You know, Tiffany is doing a thing with the Winner's Circle, who are Cody and Derek, who basically shit on a lot of black players anytime they get a chance. They did last season during the Cookout's reign, quite frankly. I do like Hannah and Jason as a podcast on their podcast together, but I still feel like they go to white platforms rather than making their own platforms, and I just don't understand it. You know, Azza does her own little cooking gigs and has parties for that she puts on, but the rest of the Cookout they go to these white platforms, and I don't understand it. Like you are also a part of Big Brother now. You have your own names out there, so why are you going to these other names and joining their thing and having to kind of walk the line of their narrative at times because it's not your own thing when you can pursue your own thing because you have your own name. It doesn't make sense to me with the Cookout on that front. But that's why I'm going to talk about this season in the postseason at times because last season I didn't. This season I plan to do it. We'll see what happens with this final HOH. That's all I got to say for now. The season, just keeps on being a mess with the edit and also because it's a CBS product.